How's it going? I've got a question from Florida Turf Pros, and he is asking me to talk about, well, let me just read you the question. Please do a video on exit strategy planning for solo and small lawn care business owners. Selling the business or having it produce income for you into retirement may not be a valid option if the owner is the bottleneck. We don't talk enough about retirement planning for the solo and small operator. I couldn't agree more. It's one of the reasons why you might pick up when you listen to my videos that I'm really gung-ho on building a bigger business. And I use the words a real business or a bigger business. It's not solely about the idea of making more money. There's a quality of life that comes with and a freedom that comes with building a business that's not fully dependent on you. I have heard many stories. I've met individuals that have been put in situations where they have become older in life and they just can't keep doing the work. They were in an accident. Maybe it was work-related or a car accident. They have a family member that's super ill and they have to leave the business for weeks or months. And you could go on and on with those types of stories, and they're massively disruptive, usually business-ending events. You can't predict it. You don't know when it's going to happen. You could spend 15 years of your life investing unbelievable hours, outworking everyone else, seemingly doing everything right, and something happens and your business is over. And that means your income is over, and that means your retirement is over. It's all over, and you're starting over, maybe later in life, maybe really late in life, and that's a disaster. So I'm an advocate of the concept of building a business big enough that you can have some redundancy in the business. You can have a backup plan for you. You're not billing all the hours. My ideal would be you're not billing any of the hours, but there's a gray zone there. You could still be billing some number of hours and still have a backup plan. So when you hear me, and I'm going to get into it here, but when you hear me talking about building a real business, it's not that you have to build a $5 or $10 million business, that even has to be your desire. I'm asking you to build a bit bigger business than the solo operator business, or it's you and a few crews, for the reasons I'm about to describe. So in the question, we're talking about retirement specifically, potentially exit strategy. So you have a couple concepts here. One, exit strategy means you're going to build the business to a place where it could be sold. I'll come back to that. Retirement strategy is going to be a combination of things. Along the way, as you're building the business, you're extracting enough profit out of the business to pay taxes on it, save it, and invest it. And hopefully your business is growing as an asset. Think of your business as an investment in your portfolio. And I realize for many, like, I don't care about this stuff, I don't like it, but I'd like you to care about it because this is what will take care of you for the rest of your life. So if you build your business properly, your business is an asset, an investment, just like any other thing that you could put your money into. But I want to advocate for it might be your best thing going. So let me give you an example of that to try to convince you. So in investing, there is this concept called, I think it's called like 4% and 20 or 4 and 20 or something like that. It's been a while since I've explored it. But the idea is that there's a belief that you could realistically get about a 4% return on your money. I think after inflation, I think that's post-tax as well. I can't quite recall, but a 4% on your money. That means that you've had to have saved and built up your investment portfolio, whatever that is made up of, so that you can get 4% return. And for many, you might say, oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous. I could get 12% on my money. Okay, you should probably be in investing. That's not realistic for the long haul across your broad portfolio of all your money. It could be true for a piece of your money invested in something, but for all of your money, everything that makes up your net worth generally tends to be unrealistic to get these high returns that a lot of people insinuate and believe and make their financial projections on. So the idea is that you should project a 4% return on your entire portfolio of investments, whatever that is, okay? There's a whole lot of people that believe you should only buy into a 3% return. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is I want to tell you what a great and incredible deal you have with the business you're building. So let me give you some math. If you want a 4% return on your money in the long term and you want that money to last you through retirement, and let's use hypothetically 30 years, whatever that number might be, then that means that you can take whatever number it is that you think you'll need to live on for that period of time, and you can multiply that number by 20. So let's just say that you want $100,000 a year income in retirement. So at 60 years or 65 years on, you want to make $100,000 a year through retirement. If you multiply 100,000 times 20, that tells you how much money you need so that you could extract 4% per year and not run out of money before you die, or at least hypothetically. So just think about for a moment what it would take to save $2.5 million. Now think about that $2.5 million you save will be post-tax. In other words, you will have had to have made about $4 million, paid tax on it to have roughly $2.5 million left. So you've got to, over your career, save $4 million and pay tax. Okay? Think about what's involved in doing that. Think about if you're a solo operator and you're making $100,000 a year now, which is a very good income for a solo operator or someone with a very small business. You're going to have, and then you got to pay taxes on that money and live on that money and maybe have a family on that money. And you've got to save out of that money enough that by the time you're of retirement age, you have saved the equivalent of $4 million. Again, you won't have all that because you will have paid tax. Now, yes, I understand you could potentially save less and you'll make a return on your money. And so through some amount of savings and investment growth, return, you will have accumulated $2.5 million. That's entirely viable, but I want to make a broader point. I have to believe that you see the difficulty in saving $4 million. Now, if you also, and I'm about to make a really strong point about why your business is so great. Now imagine that the real number is only 3%. So in the long term, because of low interest rates and all these other factors going on, that realistically, maybe you could only extract 3% out of your savings in your portfolio without using up all of your funds before you retire. And also you might say, well, if I retire at 65, I may not live to 95. Well, you might not, but there's a better and better chance every day you will for a whole variety of reasons based on everything that's going on in technology and health and everything that's improving. So let's just say that's possible. And if you could only get 3%, then you've got to multiply your same $100,000 by 33. In other words, you have to save $3.3 million after tax. You have to make $5.3 million, pay taxes to have $3.3 left. That's a big nut. That's a lot of money to save unless you have a very significant income. And even if you have a very significant income, the vast majority of people don't do it because their standard of living increases. You might eventually make $1 million a year. You'll pay $380 on that in taxes. Maybe, I made that number up. And then you've got some amount left, and odds are you even grew your income to get there. So there's a ton of high earners that don't save enough money, which is ridiculous, but they don't. All right, so it's a big undertaking. Now, contrast that and how hard that is to how hard it is to build a business that could spin off $100,000 a year. To me, that is not that hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's vastly easier. When you think about your business, you have to think that your business is an investment, and the money that business is spinning off is the equivalent. So if your business is spinning off $100,000 a year and you're not having to do the work, you're not having to build the work, and you've got a team that's backing you up, and this thing could survive you not coming to work for 3 months or being ill or having to go take care of a family member in another state, and it could still produce your $100,000 a year in income, it is the exact equivalent to you having saved, in my scenario, $5.3 million or $4 million. Like, think about that. If you want to make $200,000 post-retirement, you might have to save as much as $10 million. Which is easier? Building a business that'll make you $200,000 a year and can run without you being there every day, or saving $10 million. It's absolutely the building of the business. You might even eventually build a couple businesses, because if you learn the skills to get the first one right, to spin off the kind of money I'm talking about, then you absolutely know how to go build another one. So that's just an unbelievably important thing to understand. And it's why I advocate for building something more than a business where you're building all the work. It might seem easy now if you're young, but it won't be fun later. You would never look back later in life, say, oh, I'm so disappointed that I could build a business that could potentially run without me, and I've got a second in command or a couple people to back me up that could take care of things so I could go on vacations and have some freedom in life and not have to stress about if something were to happen to me. So that's the first part here. I'm going to do this in a 2-part video. So that's part 1. Like, that is why it's important to be thinking about this. So from a retirement standpoint, let's say you choose not to do that. Choose not to build a business that is big enough that it can support having a few extra people inside the company that can sort of run the business to some degree without you. Not all the time, doesn't have to be perfect, just some amount of the time. I've alluded to then what you're left with. If you choose not to do that, then odds are that your business is not really sellable anyway. I think it's something like 80% of all businesses in the United States that have employees are not sellable and will never be sold. But most people think they're telling themselves a wonderful feel-good story that their business will provide for them in retirement, and it will not. If you've not built the business I'm talking about, it will not provide for you in retirement. The odds of you selling it are slim to zero. Now, you might sell it for the value of your accounts and the value of your used equipment and trucks, but how much money is that really going to be worth? It's not going to be worth much. It's not going to take care of you in retirement. The only way that you sell your business for whatever number you might be imagining that sounds great, that could take care of you long term, is if you've built it in the right markets, providing the right services, and it spins off a stream of income that doesn't require you, where you're not the linchpin inside the organization. Doesn't mean you can't be involved. But if you are a linchpin and required for that business in any possible way, if somebody buys that business from you, your salary is not profit. Your salary might even be too low. For them to go hire somebody to replace you, that comes out of your sales price. So if it's going to cost $120,000 a year to hire somebody to run that business, that's not $120,000 of profit that your company gets valued on. So usually, if you get a 4x on your profits, that $100,000 that you might say, hey, is going to make me $400,000 time to sell. Nope, because they're going to have to spend that money to go hire somebody. It's not called profit. You won't get valued on that when you go to sell your business. And I digress a bit, but my point is simply this: unless you've built a business that can to some degree run without you, and that has some amount of scale and is for some reason desirable in the marketplace, that stands out from all the competitive businesses that could be bought, then you're probably not really going to sell your business for what you think you might sell it for. And as a result, it's not really going to be a retirement. And that is going to be the case for the vast majority of everyone in the industry. And so you're left with only one other option, and that is the entirety of your life, you consume way less than what you make. And you take that money every month and you diligently put in IRA, 401k, but you probably won't have one because your business isn't that size. You put it into real estate. And I'm not even going to list all the things you could do, but there's a whole bucket of things that you could be putting that money into, so you build a diversified portfolio. But even then, even after all of that, after decades of doing that, unless you're making quite a bit of money and able to save quite a bit of it, it's going to be really hard to save $5 million, $10 million. The math says that very, very few people in the United States do it. In fact, almost the vast, vast majority of everyone in the United States that has a net worth greater than $5 million, it came from business ownership. Again, another clue as to why it's so important to think about building the type of business that could create wealth for you. So this is my sales pitch to you. I will do a part 2 as to, okay, how might you go about doing this, and maybe a few additional points to try to sell you. But this is why I'm so passionate about this topic, and I feel it's so important. And I don't want you to wait till you're 40, 50, 60 years old to be thinking about this. So that's my pitch. Part 2 of this video will be, what could we do about it? See you on the next video.